Raising our voices and doing it in ways that uplift others and each other. We talk about how to speak with confidence, set healthy boundaries that really support connection, turn conflict into peace through listening and breaking through old silence into new freedom. It's all about finding our voice and using it to build a more loving, connected world. I hope you'll lean in and be part of this with us. So each month has a book recommended, and we often quote Brene Brown in our talks. And this month's book is Braving the Wilderness, a powerful exploration of what it means to belong truly to ourselves, even when it feels risky or lonely. In these pages, you'll discover how to step into the wild, untamed place of authenticity. Isn't just brave, it's sacred. It's where true belonging lives. So now it's time for our speaker. Negotiating Peace, Conflict Resolution and Transformation. April Johnston-Ulrich is going to share with you the art of compromise and negotiation so you can create win-win situations in your personal and professional life. This talk comes with a money-back guarantee. I don't know, mine always do, but let's please welcome April up.
Do my setup. I'm wondering if I could get a little help here. I want to bring this tray up and the stand. So I'll grab the stand if you grab the tray. You know what? Why don't we put it over here, and that way I won't decide to run into it. And people on the Zoom, I think, can see it. Great. Ta-da! So isn't this a title? I can't believe so many people came out to talk about conflict resolution. Wow, we all needed to get outside with this weather, didn't we? Well, actually, it's going to be a little bit of a more twist on peace and our responsibility in conflict resolution and transformation and negotiating. And I think it's hilarious. We always find we get those topics in which we need to really work on. So, surprise, surprise, this is one of mine. I hate confrontation. I will do anything not to confront. I'm the harmony person in the family. So the minute I pick up on the tension, I try to harmonize everyone. And with my own kids, I did this lovely thing, and if anybody can relate, please put their hand up. I had one child that was pretty quiet, pretty even-keeled, wouldn't push their agenda too much. And I had another one that was very forceful and very strong. And for the sake of harmony in the family, I would often say to the quieter one, just let it go. Like, just don't push them. Don't do anything. And it was a really wrong thing to do. And did anybody else do that with their kids, or try to harmonize the family by asking someone in their family to just let it go? The more, right? And they kind of switched positions throughout their lives. So then the other one became, the one that wasn't very even-keeled, and so they kind of flipped these agendas. But both times, I'm right in there trying to make peace, trying to make it all work out, make it. But what happened was, I kind of fell into what Martin Luther King talks about is bad peace and good peace. And bad peace is when you were doing what I was doing. Just letting everybody go quiet, no one stating really what they wanted, no one really getting clarity on things. Let's just tamper it down. Let's just keep it quiet. Let's just make everything even-keeled. But that doesn't solve anything, right? Because it's still there. It's still bubbling under the surface, and it pokes its head, and then the person that acquiesced or just let it go for the peace, they're not feeling great either because they weren't true to themselves, you know. And we talked about boundaries, that Steph talked about the beginning of the month, it's that thing of being authentic to yourself, which if anybody's read or heard anything with Brene Brown, is one of the most strongest themes she has through herself. If we're not true to ourselves, then we are nothing. And I was making my children at different times not being true to themselves, not saying I was also teaching them not how to negotiate peace, not how to handle conflict resolution, none of that. Probably because I wasn't good at it. I was really lousy at it. So a lot of the time, I'd hold my tongue, or I'd go quiet, or I'd leave, or I'd do whatever I had to do not to enter into those situations. But you can only go so long in your life doing that, right? How do you ever step out and get that job you've always wanted? How do you ask that guy or that girl out and have that date? Or how do you get any confidence in anything if you've always been kind of hiding who you are so that everybody else is peaceful? Is that peace? No, because that tension's still there. So what is good peace? Good peace is when you have those difficult conversations. When you sit down and you say, okay, I feel this way, you feel that way. Do we have to agree?
No.
Right. Can we just agree that we don't have to agree on this, right? Mel Robbins, if anybody's, she's a YouTube person, I don't know what it's to call them, influencer, whatever. She has a lot of this in her new book called Let Them. And she talks about a lot how we try to get into things to control them, especially in conflicts, especially in things when we don't agree with. And there's a lot of time that it's not even about the issue, it's just kind of how we're feeling, right? We really don't care a lot of the time about what we're fighting about, but we do it because we've got other things underneath, those things that probably came about in bad peace, right? So I want to tell you a little story, and that's my little setup here, about a teacher. This is from an Eastern parable. And a student came to his teacher and said, I want to learn about peace. I want to get all the information I can on being peaceful, on keeping peace with others, on not having conflict. So the teacher said, absolutely. And gave the fellow a cup, or the woman, could have been a woman, and said, this is my wisdom on peace. And this is what happens. Starts to flow over. So the student goes, whoa, whoa, whoa. It's flowing over, I can't take it in. And the teacher looks at him and says, that's because your cup was already probably close to full. And it was close to filled with your old stories, your old judgments, your old ideas of how things are supposed to be. And that didn't leave any space for the peace, right? So we come to things full of our resentments, full of our ideas, how things are supposed to be, full of conflict, our old stories of the last time I tried to do this, and you did that, and you did this. There was no room for the new experience of peace to come in, right? So it just spills. It's of no use. You can't take it in. So I always kind of take that to the thing of when you're angry. And going back to sports, in hockey, a lot of the time when they're hitting the guys, yes, it's to slow them down, and they're chirping. What they're trying to do is get the other player angry, get the goalie angry, keep nicking at them. Because why? When you do that, their decision-making process drops. It plummets. They're full. Their cup is 3/4 full of that emotion, and they don't have the space to make the right decisions. It's the same with us. We can do all the meditation in the world. We can do all the visioning in the world. We can go to all the silent retreats. Little plug there for mine, the end of June. But unless we've emptied, unless we've let go of that stuff, it's not going to happen. You can have as many meetings as you want. It is not going to happen until that story gets laid down, because that's the foundation for everything. So there's an acronym, and I'm going to have you read each of them because I don't have a monitor, and that'll help me keep in track of my letters. So if I could get Audrey to give us the first one. So if you could read that for me.
Peace needs lines that protect and not punish.
Right. So our boundaries aren't to hurt you. When I say, you know what, you've made a statement that is below my threshold for me to respond. And I'm trying to use that more and more when things are said that are just so absurd or so mean or so untrue that I'm not going to default to my defense mechanism, which how many people do that? You have somebody say something to you that it's just so beyond your belief of yourself that you get immediately defensive. Well, I wouldn't do that. Why would you think I would do that? And then you go home and think, why would they think I would do that? Right? It's a defense. But the defense does you nothing, right? It just puts you into your emotions. You say stupid things, you run around like a chicken with your head cut off, and then you go and you say, why did I do that? All I had to do was calm down and state that isn't me and walk away. Or be quiet, not allow it to resonate. So I love that. That statement is below my threshold to respond. So you can use it when, your kids say, you never, ever do something. You can say, that is below my threshold to respond, and it'll completely confuse them, but it'll be quiet. So boundaries aren't set to hurt you. Boundaries aren't set. If I say, you know what, when I have my day off, I'm not going to probably answer any text messages. It's not to hurt the person that's sending me the text messages or make them feel bad. It's about protecting that day. It's about setting a boundary. So we really need to get off of that idea, and I think that was covered brilliantly, but we'll go to the next one, the R.
Reliability. Are we showing up for ourselves as faithfully as we do for others?
Right. And how many of we do that? We show up for people on time. We'll come and move their furniture. We'll help them paint their place. We'll go and clean up. We'll show up at 9:30 at night to meet readers. And I've got the Zoom things doing something again. So I don't know why it ended after 40 minutes. Sorry, could I get somebody just to play with this and get it restarted? Thanks, Steph. So reliability. Why don't we show up for ourselves? Why do we continue? We show up for our kids. We show up for our partners. We show up for family. How many times do we do that for ourselves? We'll go and cook them a really nice meal, and then we'll come home and pop in a microwave dinner for ourselves. That is a really interesting thing. And why does that come into this idea of peace and negotiation? Because how we treat ourselves is how we believe others should treat us. So even in the simplest things of how we feed ourselves and how we take ourselves out for exercise, or how we speak about ourselves, or how we allow ourselves to be spoken to, that's a really important part of that. So the next one is
accountability. Peace includes owning your part, not taking on all parts.
Yeah. So sometimes we do that. We take on all the parts because we can't handle if things don't work out the right way. We feel responsible. We feel overly responsible. And in doing that, we get overwhelmed and we don't do anything really well, right? Things fall through. And the accountability is also, with the conflict resolution, is to come to any conflict or trying to make peace and say, what is mine? What is mine here? Get curious of your part in the whole scenario. Get curious why it keeps coming up. Is this something of mine to heal? Is this not something of mine? Is this just somebody else's story that has filled up their cup and they can't hear what I'm saying? So to be accountable to yourself is also to know when this is happening and you keep trying to give the information that sometimes you just have to stop. Sometimes you just have to walk away. Sometimes your silence is what is needed, not your words. And that can be a hard thing because you have to be accountable for when your emotions get away with you and you say things you don't mean, and you have to be accountable to know when you can't handle it anymore and you step back. The next one?
Vault. Loss separates peace, keeping confidence is restored.
Yeah, so the vault. How important is that? It's everything. We all need a person to download to. We all need a person in a moment of weakness to vent to. We all need that instant moment when maybe we're feeling that somebody's unjustly judged us, or we can't keep the peace and we don't know what we're going to do. We need a safe place because that moment will pass. That idea will pass. That feeling will pass. But sometimes we just need to get it out of us so that we can, again, put it on the paper or listen to the person or listen to ourselves say it. And then all of a sudden we get clarity. It's like, oh, that's what I'm feeling. That's where I'm going. But can you do that if you know the person's going to turn right around and either use it against you the next week or that they're going to go and tell someone else the minute you leave the room? That is hard. That is a trust. But a vault, you being that vault for someone, is everything. You want to talk about peace? That helps someone lower that cup. All of these things help lower this cup. I was going to do that, but I forgot to do that, so now I'm telling you. So I did have a container here, but it's kind of all messy now. So every one of these statements, every one of these acronyms that Brene Brown has put together in the book Braving, they empty this cup. This prepares us to handle the conflicts, to do the negotiations, and to transform relationships or just ourselves so that we can walk peacefully. So when she's talking about braving the wilderness, she's talking about stepping into a place you've never been before. And maybe some of you have never been here before. I know when I started this teaching, I'd never been in that position before. I had always done the harmony thing. I had always done, I'm not going to have conflict. I'm not going to say what I really think. If somebody says something I was totally against, a lot of the time I just go very quiet, and then I'd go home and go, you know what they said? I was like, totally not getting that. And then, right, I wasn't learning anything because I wasn't putting myself out there. I wasn't stepping into the wilderness. I wasn't stepping into the arena and stating my authenticity because I was so terrified of the conflict or judgment or all of those things. But in doing so and continually stepping into that wilderness of not knowing how this is going to turn out, when I state my opinion or I state how I saw things or I state my side of something or even try to get a perspective on what that is, it's amazing. Because all of a sudden you're heard. A lot of the time you're heard. A lot of the time you get a kindness back that you never expected. A lot of the time you'll get a, you know what, me too, which you didn't expect, right? You think you're the only one to go through this path in the forest, and others have gone before you, and they're trying to tell you it's really fun there. And then there's the others that are saying, don't go. You're not strong enough. You're just going to get hurt. People are just going to hurt you. Don't do that. right? But we're braving it. We're stepping into that place. We're absolutely owning the brilliance of who we are. And we're emptying this cup so that we can be filled up with the truth and the wisdom and the love and the kindness, all the good stuff. All the good stuff we want is there once this is emptied. And the next one, I think it's 5. Yeah.
Integrity. Doing what feels aligned, even when it's uncomfortable.
Yeah. So we all have our own truths, right? Your truth is not my truth. Does it mean it's wrong? No. If something aligns with your soul, if you come and you say, this aligns with my soul and I really feel like I need to do it. This is the step I need to take. This is my first foray into the wilderness. Right? If you're doing things or people say stop or you're doing things that don't feel right, that aren't for that path, that's your integrity. That's when you know, nope, that's not it. That's not what I said I was going to do. I said I was going to do this. I said I wasn't going to gossip. I said I wasn't going to break people's trust in me. I said I was going to put away my old stories. I said I was going to allow people to settle their own issues without me thinking I knew best for everyone and jump in and try and harmonize it. That's aligning with you, and you know when you feel it, right? We all know when we're not with our soul. We all know when we're out of our integrity with our authentic self. It feels crappy. We don't want to get out of bed, or we get out of bed, we can't think anything we want to do. We're bored with life. We're bored with the show we're watching. We're bored with the conversations we're having people because we're not in integrity. We're not in alignment with what our soul wants, and we all have that radar. I've seen on each and every one of you, set a note and said, this just doesn't feel right, or I'm not enjoying this, or whatever. It's not in alignment. And that's perfect, because that's all part of being here too, right? Is finding out when we're not being our authentic self. And if you're not being authentic, how can you come to the table to argue, or not argue, but suggest your side of anything if you're not being you, if you're being an image of what you think that person wants. And the next?
Non-judgment. We are all a little bit messy. Can we hold space anyway?
Yeah, I like that one, because I'm a little bit messy. Can you hold space for the person that doesn't have the right language? That is maybe trying to express themselves as a spiritual being and doesn't have the supposed vernacular down, who uses words that you're a little confused about, has a bit of a mental illness, or has, just stress beyond stress, or, a number of the other things that we all go through. Can we hold space for that as well? Can we see that even though it's not presented to ourselves in perfection, don't judge it, right? Don't judge it. Don't judge somebody else's foray into the wilderness. We have no idea what they're going for. And in doing that, you know what the best part of it is? We free ourselves. We totally free ourselves, because when we're not so busy judging people, it leaves us a lot of energy to focus on what we want and set our intentions and move forward, right? If I'm so busy seeing what you did wrong, or how that turned out, or how, this scenario, we don't know someone's situation. And I love this. Did anybody watch Ted Lasso? The show? No, I think I suggested it 4 years ago, so obviously none of you took me up on it. I won't be offended, but what was wonderful is he was talking about a situation. He was playing darts, and he was an American that moved to Britain. And in this scene, the fellow was mocking him, bullying him about playing darts, that he was going to be crappy at it because he was an American. And so the fellow is holding the dart, and he's talking about when he was younger and kids used to bully him. And for the longest time, he didn't understand why, and it was hurtful, and he tried to be friends with them, or he tried to hang out, and nothing worked. And then one day, I don't know if it was a teacher or his father said to him, be curious. Instead of being judgmental, be curious. Why are they doing that? What might be going on in their life that they feel that need to be mean to me? Or what is going on in their life? What are they thinking? Like, what is the plan here? Get curious. And with this, he throws a dart and he hits this really tiny point. And they're all kind of looking at each other. And as he goes on talking about, he decided to go through life being curious, not judging. And that everything that was expressed to him, every insult, every attack, every judgment, every false story told about him, he said he got curious about it. He studied it. He was like, what could be happening here? And he throws another dart, and it's another point. So they're starting to realize very quickly that this man plays darts like nobody's business. And then he says to them, you asked me he said, you suggested that I would be lousy at darts. You didn't ask me if I was good at darts. And he said, you just judged me. And he said, have I played darts? Yes. Every single weekend with my dad from 10 till 4 in the afternoon until he died when I was 16. And he throws another dart and it hits the point. And he said, and if you'd done that, he said, you would realize, he said, that I was a champion in my area. And then he was like, bullseye. And he said, so what am I trying to say? You should have been curious. And they had odds of money on this, so it was like, that was the profound ending. So, non-judgment, be curious. And the last one is?
Generosity. Assume good intentions and also honor what truly feels right.
Right. Now I have this thing when we're driving in the car and somebody cuts me off or something and I'll go, maybe they have to get to the hospital really fast because somebody's having a baby or somebody's passing away and they want to be there to hold their hand. I create these whole stories in my head and they make me feel better. I assume good. I assume, oh, you know what? Somebody stole the trim off the light on my car. I assume maybe they really needed trim for their car and they didn't have the money and they thought that where I live, maybe I could probably replace it. I do these stories, it drives my family a little nuts because I try to do it to them. But assuming the good, but then also do not do it when people show you who they are over and over again. You can do that a few times, but do not do it with those people who showed you who they are and have been cruel and intentionally cruel over and over again, because then that is not keeping the other things. That is not being authentic to yourself or holding your integrity or being reliable to you. That's a whole different thing. So when you enter into conflict resolution with someone, take some time to see if they're truly there for that as well. Because sometimes we can only do so much. We share our truth, but unless the other person's coming to the table, that's not happening. And then sometimes you feel like it happened and you walk away and then you hear it didn't happen because of one of these acronyms they weren't following. So be brave. Braving the wilderness is all of these things. But it is what's going to make this cup empty, is going to give you everything that you've wanted, is going to give you that peace. Because the only place that peace comes from is within. Absolutely within. So we can see examples of it in nature, like in Sharia's beautiful meditation this morning and in the reading. It's perfect examples. I always just smile at how absolutely perfectly she comes up with these things. And I just wanted to end with, because I see I've gone over again, but may you empty the cup, brave the wilderness, and walk forward with grace. And as Emerson said, the peace always begins with inside you. So I wish you peace this week. I wish you no conflicts, but if they do come up, that you'd be excellent at handling them and work them through, and that we work for the good peace, not the bad peace. And so it is.